Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and in this video we are going to see how we can scrape data using Python. This is going to be a simple data scraping exercise where our task is to scrape all this Pokemon related data. So as you can see, we have a table where we have different Pokemons, their types, and the different stats belong to that Pokemon, right? And each row represent a individual Pokemon. And as you can see, we have variations as well. For example, here we have the same Venusaur, but this one is a Mega Venusaur, right? So in Pokemon they have mega forms and some other kind of forms as well, so we will be having those data as well. So what we are going to do is we are going to handle all these things. So for example, if we are getting the name, then we will also get Venusaur, and then in brackets we will be having Mega Venusaur, right? Similarly, we have grass and poison type, so we will be having them comma separated, right? And we will also be getting the link of this image, and as you can see, each name has a link where we can see the details of a Pokemon. We will not be scraping this page, but we will get the link for us, right? How to do all this kind of scraping? For example, if I click here, I go to here and then scrape all this data. So basically web crawling, pagination, and all that thing, we are going to cover all those kind of web scraping in our future videos. So if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon to get notified. Now let's get back into our topic. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the coding and we will see how to scrape all this data. So I have already opened my VS Code and I have divided into three sections. One is like imports, second one constant, third one is Pokemon starts. So in this section, we are going to do all our scraping job. Here I will put any constant that we might need, and here we will be importing anything that we are going to use. So as you can see, for this web scraping purpose, we need to install these four things. So you can put this four in your requirements.txt file and just install it. Or you can pip install request, Beautifulsoup, pandas, and rich. The rich library is used for printing, so you might not need it, but I'll show you what it does actually. Okay. Now let's import all these things quickly and we will get into the scraping. So as you can see, we have imported request from BS4 Beautifulsoup, from urllib.parse URL join, and from rich we are using print, right? As far as constants are considered, currently we have only one constant, which is nothing but this particular URL, right? So I will just copy this URL and save it as data URL equals to this one, right? And as you can see from this particular URL, this is the root URL, right? So we can also save it something like root URL is equal to, and I will just remove this particular part, right? This is the root URL. So if you go to this particular website, this is the actual main URL of the website. Now coming to Pokemon starts, right? So how can we call this particular URL and get a good response, right? So everything in a web scraping lies in the inspect element, right? So you just need to right click on the web page and click on inspect. So once you click on inspect, you will be seeing the HTML that generates this particular web page, right? So as you can see, as I hover, the elements are highlighted, right? So this is the main source of material that you are going to need in your web scraping, right? So we will be looking at this particular element more often than this one, right? So now let's see whether we can get this particular HTML in our Python, right? So because once we have this, then we can go ahead and scrape all that, right? So let's get for the response. So for this particular website, we might not need headers and timeout, but it's a good practice to include them. For the headers, we need two things. One is user agent and another one is accept language Accept languages in US, right? And for the user agent you can easily get if you go to the network tab and hit refresh on the web page. Then whatever response you get, just right click there, go to the very last, and you will see some key called as user agent. You can just copy this particular one and paste it here. So once you get your user agent and accepted language, you can craft your header something like this. It's a dictionary where you'll be having user agent as user agent, and then accept language as accept language. This is your headers and you can put it here. And timeout we can just simply put 100, which is nothing but 100 milliseconds. Now we have our response ready. Now let's see what is the output of the response, right? Yeah, so you see we are getting 200. So if you get anything other than 200, then that means there is some issue and you can't scrape it, right? So 200 means the website is responding, right? Now, since it is responding, now the next job is to get the content, right? So to get the content, we will be using the Beautifulsoup. So you see, we are getting the entire HTML, right? But this is too cluttery. Now we need to go back to our elements page and we need to see exactly what we want. And accordingly, we will filter out the soup element to get our desired thing, right? And if I go to this table, you see I'm getting this table ID, right? So this is the Pokédex that we want. So now let's get it, right? So that we will get this all the table data. So here you see this is the table element, right? Guys, you need to know a little bit of HTML for this, okay? Very basic HTML if you know, then you can understand all this. Otherwise, it might go over your head, right? So this is called element in the HTML and this is the table and this is the ID, right? So that's what we did here. We just find the table element and from that of the ID attribute, if it is the ID attribute is equal to Pokédex, we are getting that particular data from the soup element, right? Now, if I will print the Pokédex table, you will see, right? We will get the HTML of the table. So you see the table tag ends here. And if I scroll up, we will be having the table starting with us, right? Again, this is also HTML. We don't want this. We again want to filter it. But at least we did our first level of filtering of the soup element, right? So we have our Pokédex table. Now the next thing is we need to find out the entries, right? So this is our headers and this is our entry. So if I expand this table, we see T head and T body. T head represent the headers. So if I want to see all my headers, so what I can do is, so T head has the headers. So within the T head as well, right? Within the T head, we have TR, which is nothing but the row, right? And within T row, we have TH, which is nothing but the individual elements, right? So we need all these TH values, right? So to get all the TH, we will use find all, and this will return a list element, right? And then we can loop over it. Now you see we get all the headers, right? So this is the exact way we are going to scrape Pokemons as well, right? So headers we don't need, so I will just erase it, right? And now we will be going towards the main crux. This is the body, right? So if I collapse the T head, we have the T body, and within the T body we have different T rows, and each table row or TR represent one of the Pokemons, right? And once we get the TR, then we can get into the TR and then get all these elements, right? So now let's first get the TR or the rows, right? Right. This will again provide us a list like element. So I can find length of it, right? So as you can see, we have 1215 entries. That means 1215 Pokemons, right? So from this 1215 Pokemons or 1215 Pokemons, we just need to take one Pokemon and scrape all the stats for that Pokemon. Okay. And then we will make a function out of it. And then we will put that function into a loop to get all the data, right? So that is our action plan. Now let's see how to do that, right? So we will pick this Mega Venusaur, right? Why? Because it has all the things, right? It has this mega name associated, which these Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, or Venusaur don't have. And it also has all the stats that other Pokemon also has, right? So we will pick this up, we will scrape all the things for this one, and then we will functionize it and apply it over the entire rows that we have. That is 1215 rows, right? If you see, this Venusaur is at the fourth position and our list starts from 0, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3. This is the third index. So what we will do is, since this Pokemon entries is a list like elements, we will write, as you can see, we get Mega Venusaur here. Now our job is to get all these stats, right? To clean up these things, these tags, and to scrape the data that we need, these things, right? Now let's see how to do that. So the first thing that we see in a Pokemon is the rank, right? For Mega Venusaur, it is 003. And here, if we see this one, right? If we see this one, now let me put it a print so that we will get some pretty printing out of it. Okay, now you can see we have some pretty printing here and we don't have to go back and forth between the web page. Now the first thing is rank, right? Now if we see, I think this one is the rank 0003, and this is present under a class called info card cell data, and the element here is span. Okay, so to get the rank, the syntax would be, so you see we get this particular element, right? But we just need this 0003. So what I'll do is I'll put dot text here. Now you'll see I'm getting the rank, right? Next thing that we need in the Pokemon, if you see, we need the name, right? The name is present here in the A element, right? If you see, this particular A element has a link, and here we have the name of the Pokemon. And if we want to see the mega name, so that mega name is present under this small tag, the class is text muted, and then we have the name called as Mega Venusaur. So you see we get Venusaur as the name. Now let's see the mega name, right? So you see we also get the extra name. Now the next thing for a Pokemon that it comes is these links, right? We need this image link, and we also need the link where we have details for that Pokemon, right? And if we see closely in the A tag, we have the link as well. So this is the A tag, and the href attribute has the link, but this is a partial link, right? So if we join the root URL with the partial link, then we will get the entire link, right? So that's the purpose why we imported the URL join, and we have this root URL, right? So we will get this href first, and then we will combine it with the root URL to get the full URL, right? Instead of text, right, we need the href, right? If we need any attribute value, we write it in brackets. And now if I will provide the partial URL, you will see we are getting this one as partial URL. Now we will use the URL join to get the full URL, right? This is the full URL that we have. Okay, So this is the full URL, and now if I'll click here, then you will see we have this Pokemon, right? Now the next thing is getting this image, right? So to get this particular image, or more specifically the icon URL, we have some image tab, and in the image tab we have this class called image fixed and icon pkmn. I think these are actually two class names. Okay, so we can pick any one of them, and this is the png image that we have. So now if I will copy this one, right, and paste it here, right, so I can see this is the image that we want, right? So yeah, we got where it is present. Now let's write the code for this one. We need the src attribute, because src attribute has the link. This is the src attribute, it has the link, right? So now when I'll print, so you see we get the icon link. We can also see this in a markdown cell. You see we get the Venusaur image here, right? So we get the icon URL, we also get the name URL, we got the rank, we got the name. Now this time we need to get the type, right? So for the type, you can see we have this poison type here and we have the grass type here, right? And if you see, these are all A element, right? Within one A element, we have grass, then we have a line break, and then we have another A element where we have poison, right? So whenever we have a new type, we have a separate A element for that, right? So A element, so we need to loop over these A elements to get all the types of a Pokemon that it can have, right? And we can see as well that the A element has a class called as type icon, right? So we need to find all the A elements that has a class of type icon, and we will loop over it to extract the text, which is nothing but the type of the Pokemon. So let's do that. Now if I will print the types list, you will see. So we get grass and poison. And if we don't want in a list format, what we can do is we can write comma and a space, and we will wrap it up in a join, right? So that we will get a output as a string and comma separated grass and poison, right? So this is how we need to do it. So now we get the type as well. Then we need to get all these stats, which is nothing but total, HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. Okay. And this is pretty much simple actually, because if we see this one, right, we have all these here, right? We have cell total, which is the total power 625, and then we have the different other stats in chronological order, right? So let's see what would be our code for getting all this. So 625 we got, this is the total power. Then we have other stats. So for that, what we will do is we can see here, right, other stat has a class called cell num, including the total power. Let's first see what all the td element that has class called as cell num, right? So we can see we have so many elements. You see this image element also has a cell num associated to it, right? And then the total also has cell num, and then we have all these, right, where we have all the stats. So if I want to get the length of it, so if I'll get length of it, so it has 8, right? So 8 means the first two we don't need, because the total one we already get, and the first one is some image link that we don't need. So anything after the second index, right, is what is on our interest. So what I will do is I will just put an index that we need anything that is after the second index. Now here, these are the things that we need, right? Now I can simply loop over it, to get all the things, right? So as you can see, we get all the stats with us. So now if you closely look, we scraped every element of a Pokemon. Now all we need to do is we need to functionize everything and create a function that we can use in our loop to get all the details. So let me create the function quickly. So as you can see, I have created the function quickly. So you have this try except block because sometimes we don't have the extra name for some Pokemons, because this Bulbasaur, Ivysaur don't have any extra name. So then we might get an error. That's why if it has extra name, then we will concatenate both. Otherwise, we will just return the common name. And other things I just copy pasted from the above what we did and then returned them as a dictionary. Now let's use this particular function on a loop to get all the data and save all the data in a CSV file. Okay. So we get all the Pokemons. Okay. So now if we don't believe me, just let's print the length of all Pokemons, which is the list. And we are getting 1215. So indeed we got all the Pokemons. Also let's see one out of it. Okay, all Pokemons 3, which is nothing but our Mega Venusaur. And as you can see, we get all the data in a dictionary, right? But now let's put it in a CSV file. Okay, now we have the data in a tabular format, right? So data that we have seen here, now we have with us, right? And we can also save it as a CSV file. Let me open the CSV file. So as we can see in my Excel, I have opened the CSV file, and you can see we have all the data with us, and we have the icon URL and the details URL as well. So yeah, it was simple. It was a very simple website that we are scraping, but in future we will be going towards more complicated websites, handling paginations and handling crawling and all these things. So if you don't want to miss all that, make sure you subscribe and do practice this one and let me know what is your experience in comments. If you like the video, just hit on the like button and you can share it with your friend who has an interest in web scraping. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it a lot and I will see you next time.